Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really important for, well, anyone just starting out after college.
Yeah, that whole transition into financial independence.
Exactly. It's exciting, you finally have your own income, more freedom. But let's be honest, it's also kind of tricky territory.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to make missteps when you're suddenly managing real money, maybe for the first time.
Right. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We've gone through a bunch of articles, advice pieces, all aimed at new grads.
And we've tried to pull out the absolute must-know strategies, sort of a shortcut to feeling, less overwhelmed and more confident.
Think of it as your financial GPS for these first few years. We're going to keep it practical, give you actionable stuff. So where do we start? Common mistakes seem like a good place.
Definitely. And number one, popping up everywhere, is the lack of a budget. Or maybe having one, but not really sticking to it.
Yeah, that seems almost universal. You get that first proper paycheck and it feels like a lot, maybe.
Right. And without a plan, it's just gone. The big problem isn't just like maybe overspending one month. It's that you're not directing your money purposefully.
Meaning you miss out on saving or investing or paying down debt faster.
Exactly. Those dollars just disappear on, random stuff instead of building your future.
So the fix is, well, obvious, but hard sometimes. Make a budget, actually track your income, and crucially, where it's all going.
Mm-hmm. See where the leaks are. Those little daily things, they add up surprisingly fast, don't they?
They really do. Which kind of leads into the next point, overspending.
Ah, yes. The temptation to finally buy all the things you couldn't afford as a student. Nice clothes, eating out.
And maybe seeing what your friends are doing, that pressure to keep up.
That's a huge factor. FOMO, fear of missing out, is real. But the sources really warn against this.
Because it leads straight to debt, right? Especially credit card debt.
Yeah, very quickly. You start living a lifestyle maybe a little ahead of where your finances actually are.
So the advice is basically slow down, spend less than you earn.
Pretty much. Conscious restraint, as some put it. Resisting that urge frees up cash for what actually matters long term. Savings, investments.
Okay, so savings, that's another big one. Not having enough or maybe none at all.
Right, especially that emergency fund. It gets neglected.
Because you feel like you don't have extra money to save.
Maybe. Or you just don't think about emergencies until one hits. But life happens, Car repairs, unexpected bills.
And if you haven't saved for it,
then you're reaching for the credit card, probably paying high interest and digging a deeper hole.
So the solution is just start saving something, anything.
Yes. Even a small amount from each paycheck. Automate it if you can. It builds that safety net, reduces stress, keeps you out of expensive debt.
Makes sense. Then there's the really long-term stuff, like retirement. Feels ages away when you're 22.
Totally understandable, but wow, the sources are unanimous on this.
Yeah.
Ignoring it early is a massive missed opportunity.
Because of compounding, right? We'll get more into that, but starting early is key.
It's the biggest advantage you have. Time. Even small amounts invested early can grow incredibly over decades. Waiting even 5 or 10 years makes it so much harder.
So not thinking long-term is mistake number 4. What's the last big one on the common mistakes list?
Mismanaging debt. This covers a lot, but think student loans mainly, and also just not understanding how credit cards work.
Right, like maybe using student loan money for things other than tuition and books.
Exactly, or just racking up credit card balances without a plan to pay them off, not realizing the interest costs.
And the consequence is damaging your credit score.
Yeah, which can hurt you for years. It impacts loans, renting, sometimes even jobs. So learning about responsible borrowing and repayment is crucial from day one.
Okay, let's dive deeper into student loans then. They're a huge burden for so many grads. What about managing them effectively? Consolidation and refinancing often come up.
Right. So consolidation basically bundles multiple loans into one single loan, can make payments simpler.
And refinancing?
That's taking out a new loan, usually from a private lender, to pay off your old ones. The goal is typically to get a lower interest rate.
Okay, are they options for both federal and private loans?
You can consolidate federal loans together, and you can refinance federal or private loans, often with a private lender. But a key thing the sources highlight: you generally cannot combine federal and private loans into a single new federal consolidation loan.
Okay. And is there a catch with, say, refinancing federal loans into a private one?
Yes. Definitely something to watch out for. You might get a lower rate, which sounds great, but you could lose all the federal loan protections.
Like what kind of protections?
Things like income-driven repayment plans, where your payment is based on your income, or potential forgiveness programs, deferment, forbearance options. Private loans usually don't offer those.
So you need to weigh that trade-off very carefully. Lower rate versus losing flexibility.
Exactly. Now, we saw that the average debt from a 4-year public university is around, what, $27,400, and often higher.
Yeah, that's a big number starting out.
Yeah.
And the advice was clear. Don't borrow more than you absolutely need for school, right? Using loan money for spring break is a bad idea.
A very bad idea. Because every dollar borrowed costs you more in interest later. When it comes to paying back, the consistent advice is pay more than the minimum if you possibly can.
Even a little bit extra.
It chips away at the principal faster, saves you a ton of interest, and gets you out of debt sooner. You can focus extra payments on the highest interest loans first, usually.
Or maybe the smallest balance first for a psychological win.
That's another strategy, yeah. The snowball method. Both can work. Refinancing can also help here, again, if the rate is significantly better and you're okay losing federal benefits.
But it all comes back to fitting those payments into your budget.
Absolutely. Budgeting helps you see how much extra you can put towards loans while still covering your living costs.
It seems like financial literacy is the thread connecting all of this, just understanding the terms, the options.
Totally. Knowing what your interest rate means, what repayment options exist, it empowers you to make smarter choices instead of just feeling overwhelmed by the debt.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly to credit. Building good credit. Why is that so critical right out of college?
Well, like we touched on, your credit history is kind of like your financial reputation. It affects so much.
Like renting an apartment.
Yeah.
Getting a car loan.
Yeah, all that. Even setting up utilities sometimes or getting a decent phone plan. And increasingly, employers are looking at credit reports too.
Really? For jobs?
Especially for jobs involving handling money or sensitive information, a poor credit history can be a red flag for them.
Wow. Okay, so how does someone with basically no credit history start building a good one? What makes up that score?
Several things. The biggest factor, about 35% of your score typically, is payment history. Paying all your bills on time, every time.
Not just credit cards, but rent, utilities.
Everything. Then there's credit utilization, how much of your available credit you're using. Keeping that low, ideally below 30%, is really important.
So maxing out cards is bad, even if you pay on time.
Very bad for your score, yes. Length of credit history matters too. Longer is better. And having a mix of credit types can help, but that's less critical early on.
So practical steps. How do you get started?
Opening 1 or 2 credit accounts is usually the first step. Maybe a secured card where you put down a deposit, or a student card with a low limit.
And then use it carefully.
Yes. Make small purchases you can easily afford, and this is crucial. Pay the full statement balance off every single month. Don't carry debt and pay interest if you can avoid it.
What about being an authorized user on a parent's card? Does that help?
It can, if the parent has excellent credit history. Their good habits can reflect positively on you, but the key is always responsible. Use yourself.
Pay the bill, pay it on time, pay it in full, and don't use too much of the limit.
You got it. And also, don't apply for like 5 cards at once.
No.
Each application can be a hard inquiry, which can ding your score temporarily. Slow and steady wins the race here.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about something potentially more exciting. Investing. The power of starting early and compound interest.
Yes. This is where things get really interesting for building long-term wealth. Compound interest is, that's like magic almost.
Explain it simply.
Your money earns returns, right? Then those returns start earning their own returns. It snowballs. The longer it has to grow, the bigger the snowball gets.
And the sources emphasize that starting early is everything.
Absolutely. It's the single biggest factor you can control. The regret of not starting sooner is huge for many people later in life.
There was that example, right? A 20-year-old investing just $1,000, earning 7.2%.
Could see it grow to around $32,000 by age 70, just from that one initial investment, thanks to compounding.
But the really mind-blowing part was adding small, regular amounts, like $83 a month.
Yeah, doing that consistently from age 20 could potentially lead to something like $465,000 by retirement in that same scenario. It shows the power of time plus regular contributions.
Okay, so for a new grad, maybe not earning a huge salary yet, where should they start? What kinds of accounts?
The first place to look is usually an employer-sponsored plan, like a 401k or 403b. especially if there's an employer match.
Because that's free money.
Exactly. Always contribute enough to get the full match if you possibly can. Outside of work, individual retirement accounts or IRAs Roth or traditional are great options too. They offer tax advantages.
Now, what about the fear factor? The stock market goes up and down, it seems risky. People might just want to keep cash safe in savings.
That's understandable, but the sources point out a hidden risk in playing it too safe. Inflation.
Meaning your cash loses purchasing power over time.
Right. If your savings aren't growing at least as fast as inflation, you're effectively losing money year after year. Investing, even with market ups and downs, has historically provided much better long-term growth needed to beat inflation. It's about a balanced approach, understanding risk, diversification.
And technology makes it easier now, doesn't it? Those apps.
For sure. Apps like Acorns or similar services let you start investing with tiny amounts, like $5. They offer pre-built portfolios. It's a great way to dip your toes in without needing much money or expertise.
It makes investing feel much less intimidating. Okay, then another potential pitfall. Lifestyle inflation, or lifestyle creep. What is that exactly?
It's that tendency as your income goes up for your spending to go up right along with it, maybe even faster.
So you get a raise, and suddenly you're thinking bigger apartment, newer car, fancier dinners.
Exactly. And while some upgrades are fine, if all the extra money goes towards increased spending, you end up still living paycheck to paycheck, just a fancier paycheck to paycheck.
And you're not actually getting ahead financially, not saving more.
Precisely. It hinders your ability to reach those bigger goals. The sources talk about the psychology feeling like you've earned the splurge, but higher income doesn't automatically equal wealth if you spend it all.
So it requires conscious effort to resist that creep. What strategies work?
Having clear financial goals is key. If you know you're saving for a house down payment, it's easier to say no to the impulse buy.
It gives your money a purpose.
Right. Automating savings is huge too. When you get a raise, immediately increase your automatic savings or investment contributions before you get used to spending that extra cash.
Pay yourself first, again.
All consciously trying to live below your means. Maybe keeping your living expenses similar to your college days for a while, even with the bigger salary. Avoid unnecessary upgrades just because you can technically afford them.
What about experiences versus things? Did that help?
Yes. The articles mention that focusing on experiences, travel, learning new skills, spending time with loved ones often brings more lasting happiness than buying more stuff, and can sometimes be less expensive than constant material upgrades.
And it all ties back to financial literacy again, doesn't it? Understanding these traps.
Absolutely. Knowing about lifestyle creep helps you recognize it and make conscious choices to prioritize your long-term financial health by building good habits early.
Okay, this is a lot of information. For grads feeling maybe a bit stressed by it all, what's the advice on getting help or support?
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. The sources definitely acknowledge that. The big message is you don't have to figure it all out alone. Seeking help is smart.
Like talking to a professional financial advisor.
Yes, a qualified advisor can be incredibly helpful. They can look at your specific situation and help create a personalized plan for budgeting, debt, saving, investing.
And we should look for specific qualifications, like CFP or RIA.
Those are good credentials to look for, yes. Certified financial planner or registered investment advisor. Some experts even suggest building a sort of financial team.
Interesting. What else? Are there free resources?
Loads. Government sites like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have great educational tools. Your bank or credit union might offer free workshops or budgeting tools too. Don't overlook those.
What about just talking to people, friends, family?
Definitely. Building a support system is really important. Talk to financially savvy family members or friends. Find a mentor. Even just connecting with peers going through the same thing can help sharing tips, keeping each other accountable.
Makes sense. You're not in a vacuum.
Right. Lean on resources and people.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway, if someone remembers just one thing?
I think the core idea from all these sources is be proactive. Take charge early. By focusing on budgeting, managing debt smartly, building credit, investing early, and watching out for lifestyle creep, you really can set yourself up for long-term financial success.
Yeah, it's about building that solid foundation right from the start. We hope pulling these insights together has given you some clear, actionable steps. The goal wasn't to add stress, but to empower you.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Think about which one of these areas feels most relevant to you right now. What's one small, concrete action you could take, maybe even this week, to move forward on that.
Because those small steps really do add up, don't they?
They absolutely do, especially when you start early. So keep learning, keep taking action, and you'll be well on your way.